A quick thank you to the T5 peeps, Bob the Dragon, Datamagnet, Cat Crab Lobster, DuckMachine, Astraya the Dreamer, Mezec, Feudic Jarl, and Casper Arnholtz. Thank you very much. The Last ANZAC, written by ack1308. What's that you got there? Nick looked up, then realized he had the badge in his hand again, turning it over and over, rubbing his thumb over the jagged edges. My grandfather gave it to me for luck before I shipped out. He said it was passed down through the family from before we left Earth. Huh. Okay. Can I see it? Jerome was a good trooper, and he had Nick's back more than once, so Nick passed the badge over without hesitation. Just be careful with it, okay? It's kind of old. Yeah, no shit. Jerome examined it carefully. What's it supposed to be, anyway? A sunrise with ribbons attached? Nick shook his head. No. Grandad once told me that those rays were originally a collection of blades arranged in a fan. There's a crown in the middle, because they served a king, and the banner underneath used to say something, but most of it's been worn away by now. If he squinted, he could make out some of the letters Liam, Com, Tarry, Fork, but not enough to get any sense out of them. But king, how old is this anyway? Back in the days where they rode horses and carried swords and stuff. Jerome's tone was teasing, but he wasn't being mean about it. I don't know, Nick shrugged. Grandad did tell me stories about how some of them used to ride horses into battle, but then they get off and fight on foot, so maybe. Anyways, before my family came off-world, we were from a place called Australia. That's where it's from. Never heard of it, though the badge is cool. I like the bit about the blades. Jerome passed the small piece of worn brass back. It's nice to have a bit of history to hang on to. He turned his head at the sound of a nearby explosion. Hang on, what was that? Nick slipped the badge into a pouch he normally kept it in. Sounds like something tripped one of the perimeter mines. Crap, not good. Proximity sensors aren't showing a damn thing. Jerome was all business now. If there's more than one of them, and they aren't showing up on sensors, we're in the crap. He hefted his Type 19 plasma rifle and thumbed the activation button. It hummed in his hands, coming to readiness in a few seconds. I'll go and have a look, Nick heard himself speaking before he realized what he was about to say. They can fool sensors, but they can never be able to get past the old Mark I eyeball. Jerome didn't contradict him, but the worry on his face was plain to see. Okay, but keep me posted. And keep your head down. Don't be a goddamn hero. No chance of that. I want to come back alive from this. Nick took a deep breath, then adjusted his battle dress to active camo and slithered out of the mini bunker that they were using as a forward observation post. He didn't bring his Type 19 because they made an audible noise when they activated, and the power source showed up on heat detection. He was cursing himself for all kinds of a fool as he stealthed through the overcast battlefield, keeping low and applying all the extremely specific skills he had acquired over the last few years. Only an idiot left the protection of a bunker to go outside when the enemy were on the prowl. But if the sensors weren't working, there was no other way to find out what was going on. He was good at this. He knew it. Just how good, he was going to find out. About 10 minutes in, he had his answer. A group of the enemy soldiers they called the Bastards, their species name being entirely unpronounceable by human throats. Even to his unfiltered vision, they shimmered and wavered as they crept across the shattered landscape, heading unerringly towards the mini bunker that he'd just left. Crap! Keeping an eye on them, he keyed the whispercom. Got maybe a dozen, heading your... Up until now, the whispercom had been thought undetectable by the Bastards, but several of them reacted within seconds, turning and firing something in his direction. Biting off a yelp, he dived for cover. The projectiles landed behind him and detonated, sending him tumbling over and over. Something hit his head and the lights flashed briefly before his eyes. The darkness overcame all. Oi, mate, you're right there. A hand roughly shook his shoulder. What? He struggled to open his eyes. Crap, the Bastards! Sarge, he's awake. The voice moved away, and Heavy Boots stepped closer just as he finally succeeded his task. He looked up at a rangy man wearing an archaic uniform squatting down in front of him, A match flared, casting light over lean, hungry features. "Bugger me, you're just a bloody nipper." One called Sarge looked to be about 25, but his eyes told another tale. "What's your story?" He had this Sarge, another soldier, they couldn't be anything but, crouched next to them and proffered something that glinted in the small flame. It was Nick's badge. "Hey," he croaked, "give that back." The match went out, but it seemed there was enough ambient light for Sarge to take the badge and examine it anyway. "Well, he's definitely one of ours. Good enough for me." The warm metal was pressed back into Nick's hand. "Thanks," mumbled Nick, putting it away safely. "Who are you?" "First AIF, son." Sarge put a hand on Nick's arm and helped him to a seated position. "Now you've got a problem. Your mate's in the crap, and you've got one chance to get stuck in. We'll give you support, but it's all on you. You up for it?" "Jerome!" "They took the bunker." Despair crushed Nick's heart. "I'll never take it back. I didn't even bring my rifle along." One of the soldiers, just out of his line of vision, murmured what sounded like a line from a song. "You couldn't let your mates down till they had you dusted off." "Frankie's right," said Sarge. "You can't do it without a rifle." He unslung something from his back. Here's mine." Wonderingly, Nick took the weapon. His hands told him that it was made of wood and steel rather than alloy and high-impact plastic. A long, sharp blade was affixed to the muzzle end. As if by instinct, he found the bolt and worked it back and forward again. The chack of the round seating in the chamber was almost visceral in its impact. "Okay, right," he said. "Let's do this." There was a slap on his shoulder. "That's bloody spirit, mate. You lead on and we'll be right there with you." Feeling a lot more confident than he had before, Nick moved off, the weight of the old-fashioned rifle in his hands feeling like a living thing, eager for battle. He located the rear entry of the bunker. It looked like it had been blasted open. 2 bastards lay inside, sprawled in death. Jerome hadn't gone down easy, it seemed. Then another one stuck its head around the corner. It began to say something, but Nick aimed and fired by instinct. The shot was tremendously loud, temporarily deafening him. In the flare of the muzzle blast, he saw the top of the alien's head simply disintegrate. The element of surprise was gone, so he lunged into the bunker. Jerome was down, but his arms were tied, which gave Nick hope for his survival. However, there was still a bunch of bastards milling around. Weapons were already coming up towards him. Conscious thoughts ceased, and he fired, jabbed the blade, and smashed the heavy wooden butt into the foes within a maelstrom of noise and smoke. Vaguely, he was aware of the khaki-uniformed soldiers fighting alongside him, striking down his foes, yelling words like "Pier Shiba" and "Light Hoss." But he was too taken up with the fury of battle to stop to consider them. And then there were no more enemies. They were all down, dead or dying. Neither was he unscathed. In such close quarters, some of the bastards had scored on him with a plasma blast or a vibroblade. They had all gone down, but he wasn't doing too well either. The rifle, empty and with a bent blade, slipped from his hand as he fell to his knees. "Hang in there, kid, hang on!" The one called Sarge was at his side once more, supporting him. A piercing whistle rang out. "Oi, Simmy, one for you, mate!" 2 impressions followed Nick into unconsciousness. The first was that he'd finally gotten a good look at the headwear the anomalous soldiers were wearing. A broad-brimmed hat with one side pinned up by a badge that looked oddly familiar. And the second was the clopping of hooves. "So, what's the verdict?" The doctor looked up and scanned. "Kid's strong, he'll pull through, but it was touch and go. If he'd shown up at the aid station an hour later, he'd be dead right now." The officer frowned. "So how did he show up? Did he walk in? It was 15 kilometers from the bunker to the aid station." "No. Damnedest thing." The doctor tapped the scans. A hologram unfolded. He took a leg wound, and he wouldn't have been able to walk 100 meters, much less 15 clicks. The orderlies at the aid station swear blind that some soldier wearing a uniform they didn't recognize delivered him slung over the back of a donkey. "The donkey?" The officer tilted his head. "Do we even have donkeys on this planet?" The doctor shrugged. "If you'd asked me that yesterday, I would have said no. Kid's a hero, by the way. His bunker buddy's only lightly wounded. Kid saved his life. Deserves a medal. He'll get one. The officer left the doctor to his work and proceeded along the corridor, deep in thought. There was more oddity to the situation than the medical professional knew. It examined the alien dead, and few of the wounds matched the Type 19 or the vibroblades they all carried. Heavy lead slugs had shredded the creatures the soldiers had called bastards, and the cuts and stab wounds had been inflicted by a standard metal blade. Where the young soldier had gotten the weapon from to do that damage, he had no idea. The boy himself claimed to remember nothing of the incident. The officer paused, looking through an observation window at the soldier in question. His wounds had been treated and he was in a natural sleep, looking younger than ever. But there was an indefinable air about him, of someone who had been tested and tempered in the fires of battle, and who had not been found wanting. Onward strolled the officer through the complex, until he reached his own quarters. There were 2 electronic calendars side by side, one showing current time and date on the planet that they were on, and one showing the date back on Earth, allowing for relativistic differences. Their date, he noted in passing, was April the 25th. Back in the hospital bed, Nick lay, barely awake. In his hand, the brass badge sat, warm and comforting. The tail end of the song wove its way through his mind, and the ghosts can be heard as they're marching by the billabong. Who'll come a-waltzing Matilda with me? End of story. And that, my friends, concludes this video. I hope that you enjoyed, and if you do, please consider supporting the author, even by popping over and leaving a thumbs up or a nice comment, just to show your appreciation for the story. However, if you wish to support this channel, there are links down below which will help immensely. I will see you all in the next one, and until then, I hope that you have a fantastic day. Cheers.